Revenge of the Electric Car. Joining me now, two of the film stars. Elon Musk is the co-founder and CEO of Tesla Motors. Bob Lutz spearheaded GM's Chevy Volt, as you know from our previous conversation. I'm pleased to have them join me now in a conversation about electric vehicles. Did I hear you say in that clip, I have not yet seen the movie? Anybody who comes from outside thinks they can do something is going to fall on their butt.
Yeah, because what happens is they have a brilliant thought, but they have a great deal of difficulty implementing it because they underestimate the knowledge and technology and experience required to actually build a car. Elon went through quite a bit of that, and
we did go
after about 2 years of struggle, they began to think, maybe those guys in Detroit aren't that dumb after all.
Well, I never thought the guys in Detroit were dumb. I think that sometimes the media tries to create more of an antagonistic position than is really the case. Yeah. I'm actually really supportive of any efforts like the Volt or the Leaf or anything that goes in the direction of sustainable transport. Mm-hmm. The whole purpose behind Tesla, the reason that I put so much time and effort into creating it, was to serve as a catalyst for transition to electric vehicles.
All right. Has he succeeded beyond what you expected?
Yes, I think Elon and Tesla had kind of a rocky spell there, and the Roadster being at $100,000+ car, but only seating two, that is a very thin market segment. Yeah. And after about a year, everybody who wants one has one, but almost. I don't have mine yet. But the transition to the four-door sedan, I think that is going to open the window to a much broader market and to a sustainable commercial future.
Right. Here's a picture of that four-door sedan. What you said to me, you think is a fine-looking automobile.
Yes, I do. I think it's clearly one of the best styled medium-sized to large-sized four-door sedans in the world today.
More along the lines of Mr. Jackson.
I'm a well-known Tesla skeptic, and
but it keeps defying expectations. You have to give it that.
Somehow it's levitating, and I think Elon Musk is the greatest salesman in the world. He paints this vision of an unlimited future, aided and abetted by some analysts who say, it's like Elon Musk has been beamed down from another planet to show us mortals how to run a company. The fact is, it's a constant cash drain. They're highly dependent on federal government and state incentives for money, which constantly flows in. They have capital raises all the time. Even the high-end cars that they build now cost more to build than they're able to sell them for. Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, GM, Audi, and Porsche are all coming out with 300-mile electric luxury sedans. I think they're doomed. Unless somehow the laws of you have to have more money coming in than going out.
They're a startup, though. They're not.
What does doomed mean? Their stock price comes in, they go out of business, they have regular competition like other companies. What do you mean by doomed?
So at some point, see, their upside on pricing is limited because everybody else sells electric vehicles at a loss to get the credits to be able to sell the sport utilities and the pickup truck. So that puts a ceiling on your possible pricing. And if he can't make money on the high-end Model S's and Model X's, which sell, up to $100,000, how in the world is he going to make money on a $35,000 small car? Because I have news for you, 42 years of experience. The cost of a car doesn't come down proportional to its size.
No, that's true. But
so Bob Nardelli, do you see any possible way that this works out for Tesla? Keeping in mind that they're not just about cars now. They changed their name from Tesla Motors to Tesla. They've got these in-home batteries. They've got solar panels on the roofs now, buying Solar City. I mean, sometimes the stock price and the fundamentals end up coming in line.
On Tesla, I just want to get back to you on this. In terms of cash burn, yes, they're burning a lot of cash, but they're in startup mode, and the trajectory at which they burn cash theoretically won't be the same. They won't have to continue building a gigafactory infinitum. They won't add on new production lines. In terms of subsidies, most of the people who reserve a Model 3 are doing that without any government subsidies because they run out, and they're still willing to buy that car.
We'll see. We'll see. But if you have a situation where the cost of producing a car, labor and materials, is higher than your sell price, your business model is flawed, and it's doomed, and it's going to fail. And I will guarantee the only difference, the reason for this inflated stock, because Elon Musk said, oh, but look at my solar, look at Solar City, look at the panels, look at the battery plant. The battery plant, in my estimation, is a joke. There are no cost savings by making a lithium-ion plant bigger than other people's lithium-ion plants, because making lithium-ion cells is a fully automated process anyway. So whether you've got full automation in a small building or 10 times full automation in a big building, you're not saving any money. And Solar City, we know, is a disaster. So to answer Bob Nardelli, what GM should do, GM should say, we're not gonna colonize Mars, because that would be copying Tesla. We're going directly for Neptune and Saturn.
Well, we'll still need a lot of oil. We'll need oil for jetliners and so forth. But, you know, the Germans fought World War II with the liquefaction of coal and making gasoline out of coal. There's something, and we've got the world's largest coal deposits. The technology to make gasoline out of it exists, and nobody's talking about it. I don't understand it.
All right. Do you accept his idea that he doesn't believe that global warming is produced by man activities, human beings' activities?
Well,
you don't believe that, do you?
So
he's going to get himself in trouble like I did.
No. So the way I look at the CO2 thing is that we're running an experiment, which is to see what the CO2 capacity of the oceans and atmosphere is before Earth gets cooked. I don't think that's a wise experiment. That experiment, let's say that experiment is 99% likely to show that CO2 is no problem, but 1% likely to show that it's going to cook the planet. I don't think we want to take that 1% chance. It's just not smart.
You think 1% is the right number?
I think it's more than 1%.
You think it's what?
Well, it depends on when and how many trillions of CO2 get pumped into the atmosphere. Yeah. There's no question that at a certain level, it will destroy the Earth, or destroy large portions of the Earth. The question is just, what is that level, and how soon do we stop pumping vast quantities of CO2 into the atmosphere? Given that oil and even coal are a finite resource, it doesn't seem to make sense that we would run that experiment when we have to get off them anyway, because they're simply finite.
What was your motivation to do all this?
So my motivation, actually, for all my companies has been that to be involved in something that I thought would have a significant effect on the world. And when I was in college, there were 3 areas that I thought would most affect the world. And one was the internet, the other was sustainable energy, both production and consumption, and the third was space exploration, particularly making life multiplanetary. So as things have turned out, I've been able to be involved in all 3.
What are you doing in terms of the planetary exploration?
SpaceX.
Right. A private rocket company.
Yeah. So NASA selected my company.
Right.
SpaceX.
Well, I want you to tell them about it.
Oh, okay. Sure. I run 2 companies, Tesla and SpaceX. Right. SpaceX is short for Space Exploration Technologies, right. And we build giant rockets and spacecraft, and NASA selected us to take over the cargo transport function of the space shuttle. We'll be doing our first mission to the space station hopefully in January, so that'll be a big milestone. We've done several rocket launches already, and we build the whole rocket from scratch in California, actually. From raw metal comes in, we build the engines, the structure, avionics, guidance, control, and then we launch from Cape Canaveral, and we'll be launching from...
This makes him your kind of guy, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He's a hardware guy.
May I say that I really like Bob Lutz, by the way.
Did you read his book here, though, Car Guys versus Bean Counters?
I've not received a copy of his book.
Well, you heard him talking about it, and you told me you agreed with most of the things he said.
Yes, I actually agree with most of the things that Bob says, and I have a lot of respect for Bob. I just want that to be clear, because sometimes people may sort of make it out that somehow I don't like Bob, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for Bob and think he's awesome.
So you want to come here and peer with him?
Yeah.
Right.
Bob, if Tesla is not a viable business model on its own, then who should buy it?
Well, first of all, you have to ask the counter question: why would anyone? And the only answer I can see is you'd buy it for the name and the reputation, because I don't think there's any battery technology or autonomous vehicle technology that isn't basically available to everybody else. So my guess is if someone were to buy it, it would be to acquire a very valuable brand. Would it be General Motors or Ford? I doubt that very much. Could be one of the Europeans. Could be an Asian producer.
Tata.
Could be a Chinese producer wanting to own a very, very powerful and legitimate brand. Or it could even be somebody who is not in the automotive business, like a Google or an Apple or one of the Chinese electronics companies. But that would have the problem that, once again, it would remain a small car company, not embedded in a larger automobile company where you have shared engineering and shared fixed cost. So it would remain a small, vulnerable producer, and the ownership would be in the hands of people who don't understand the car business, which, is always a problem.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the other things Tesla's looking at, such as an electric semi? And, they're taking their car batteries too and making power walls that you can put in buildings and the like.
Well, that's been the whole power wall thing at Solar City has been an unmitigated 100% flop. I think, other than Tesla executives, I don't think there's 24 Americans who have put Solar City power walls in their houses. As for the electric semi, I think both of those were pushmobiles. They were elaborate things made out of a wood framework with plaster of Paris troweled on them. First of all, the total semi market in the States is so tiny annually that even if you dominated it, you're not talking very much volume. And secondly, every semi manufacturer, whether it's Freightliner,
Daimler.
Well, that's Freightliner.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
But Volvo and et cetera, and even Cummins is coming out with a fully electric drivetrain for heavy trucks. So, again, not their primary business, and it would be hard to see that would in any way improve the fortunes, because you're not making a bold entry into a gigantic market. You're making an expensive entry into a market where, if you are successfully able to take business away from equally capable competition, it's still not worth it. And most fleet owners tend to stay with the same brand. So if you've got an interstate trucking company that owns like 1,500 Freightliners, and Freightliner says, we'd like to sell you 10 of our electric Freightliners, that's who they're going to go with.
Yeah. In terms of a company buying it, I mean, it would be...
Well, what you're really asking is, can you separate Tesla, the brand, from Elon Musk, the personality? And you could argue either way on that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the board may be reluctant to replace him, because I think most other boards would no longer countenance a CEO who has made such blatant mistakes that they result in a criminal investigation by the SEC and the Justice Department, which will effectively preclude him from raising capital.
Achievement. Why is that?
Well, because it's all new technology, and all of the other cars that I've done that I've been proud of have been basically variations of normal cars.
A report from Reuters on Monday estimates that General Motors loses $49,000 for every Volt it sells, thanks to a $1.2 billion investment in producing an electric car that hardly anybody wants to buy.
But I think we should sell low, sell the stock now, get out while we still can. They keep thinking they're going to hang on until it gets back up to $53 a share. It will never get back up to $53 a share. Pay your incentive in that neighborhood. Nobody wants this thing. No other car maker other than Toyota has been able to sell one. They tried to do this 100 years ago. It didn't work. Give it up.
This is all new technology. This is something that nobody has ever done before, and that many of our competitors said wouldn't be possible, and GM will never do it.
Well, and you've said the Volt will, I think you said, poke a finger in the eye of naysayers,
the naysayers.
right?
That's right. Yeah, and there were many. It's like Elon Musk has been beamed down from another planet. Labor and materials is higher than your sell price. Your business model is flawed. And it's doomed, and it's going to fail.
General Motors loses $49,000 for every Volt it sells, thanks to a $1.2 billion investment in producing an electric car that hardly anybody wants to buy.
How in the world is he going to make money on a $35,000 small car?
Tonight, the unveiling of a new electric car that had lines wrapped around Tesla leadership's dealerships in San Diego and across the globe.
Our 40-mile range is pretty sure. Now, on a very cold day with the heater on, it might go down to 32 miles. But it doesn't matter because you've always got that backup gasoline generator.
Now you've taken the Volt, and you've got an electric car, and then you've also got an engine. You also got the transmission. And as we say, the reliability of the Volt is not good because the engine has problems. Well, guess what? If you're making an electric car, don't put an engine in, and you won't have problems with it.
Yeah,
and I think
1,000 volts. That was the sales Joel GM was hoping for this year, but with less than 2 weeks to go, let's just say this puppy could be about to short circuit big time. And Volt watcher Mark Vodica says the numbers are even worse than they appear.
You never get stuck by the side of the road hoping somebody will come along with a 5-gallon can of electricity when you're...
That's true.
I'm Bob Lutz. I'm here today at WCX to talk about the future of the automobile and the autonomous vehicle. It's not going to make the car industry go away. It's just going to make it go away the way it is today with this, a proliferation of body styles, new models, ever higher horsepower, the whole, what we used to view as the excitement of the business. But physically, these transportation modules are still going to have to be designed and built. But if I were a young person in any way associated with the automobile business today, I would make myself find out all I could about precision mapping, hardware and software required for autonomous vehicles, because again, while it may be a 25 to 30-year transition, but it is coming, and it's coming faster than most people think. So educate yourself on it so that you're not left behind. We keep thinking that an autonomous robo-taxi has to be battery operated. No, it doesn't. It's just as happy with an internal combustion engine. So as far as the move to vehicle autonomy, makes no difference whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with the cars. What's wrong with Tesla is the business model. The cars cost more to make than they can sell them for. And that's the problem with most battery-powered vehicles, which is why battery-powered vehicles are not going to take over anytime soon. The General Motors and other people make a certain batch to satisfy federal and state requirements. That's not because they want to, it's because they have to. And anytime you have a situation where a commodity costs more to make than you could sell it for, the company making it has a limited lifespan. Your business model is flawed, and it's doomed, and it's going to fail. How in the world is he going to make money on a $35,000 small car?
Tonight, the unveiling of a new electric car that had lines wrapped around Tesla leadership's dealerships in San Diego and across the globe.
You never get stuck by the side of the road hoping somebody will come along with a 5-gallon can of electricity when you're...
That's true.
Outside of Detroit, everybody thinks Detroit is dumb. Hey, this isn't an easy business after all. And I think that's about the point where Tesla is right now. He's to be able to continue this vision of the intelligent electrification, because I do believe the industry is about to be transformed. Whether oil prices go up or down. I think gasoline prices over time will go up. But even if they don't, we have government mandated fuel efficiency requirements, which can only be met by partial or total electrification of vehicles. So it's going to happen no matter what. And it makes all the sense in the world to start with the vehicles that are most popular with the American public and the ones that frankly consume the most gasoline. Why a truck and SUV? Well, Americans are hardworking people and hard-playing people too. This country was built on independence and by a lot of small businessmen, tradesmen, who all depend on the uniquely American vehicles that we call the pickup truck or the full-size van. Its own generator for work crews, caterers, power your home in emergency, outdoor parties, outdoor weddings, rock concerts, whatever. The truck that brings the equipment or the food is also the power generation for the event. And I daily conjure up new uses for these things, and I think, frankly, anybody who wants a full-size pickup truck or a full-size SUV, when they think about all of the applications for the exportable power, is going to think of 3-day camping trips where you have unlimited electrical power off of the vehicle that you drove into the woods. Once you electrify, you will never go back.